Good morning and welcome to another episode of What's Up with Mr. Beck. We can leave her here. She's the reason she's the character of the day. If you know, you can already send it, but you gotta watch the rest of the video. Guys, I want to make sure you know what's going on today. It's Friday. Yep, I love Fridays. Fridays are awesome! But we got some good news and stuff like that we're gonna hit before this. Guys, brace yourself. It's a long video. So let's start off with today's checklist. So let's hit it. You're going to watch What's Up with Mr. Beck. Check. Then you're going to send character of the day. Then you're going to finish part B, science. It's due today. You're going to use part B and part A when you do part C. What? Yes, I promise you. I didn't make you do it just for fun. You got to make sure that you're doing it. Okay, we want to make sure that you get the facts done. I'm grading as soon as I'm done with this. If you've already turned it in, it's only 10:15. So if you didn't turn it in yet, you're not in trouble. It's due tonight. Okay, so make sure part B is done. Okay, so then start part C. ELA, graphic organizer. It's in the 5th grade teams. It's going to be due Wednesday, May 3rd. You can start your media project once you get your grades back for part A and for part B. I'm grading part B, Miss Tucker's grading part A. Okay, it is going to be due on the 12th, the same day that the final copy's due. So do not, I repeat, do not wait until the last minute to do it all, because then you'll be struggling. Okay, good news, hit it. Tell me something good, tell me something good. Okay, so we don't have a lot of good news today. I'm pretty disappointed. Guys, get on it. Send good news over the weekend. I want a lot of good news. Give me good news. Here we go. Jarek! My good news is that we got a deeper pool. This was hard because pools were either out of stock or were almost $3,000. And we're not talking about Beck's bucks. That's a lot of money. And then Michaela with an action shot of the Queen of Uno doing her thing. That's it. That's all the good news I have. So please send me more. Okay. So, because there's not enough good news, I'm going to give you a little alien action. This is from a couple weeks ago when she was home. This is the first time she is rolled over, and it's absolutely adorable.
Doing tummy time. Who's that pretty baby? Doing tummy time like a champ. Who's that? Who's that?
Look at you lifting your head up. She's so calm for you.
She's doing tough. She's tough. She's a tough nugget. Good job. Fight. 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 Yeah, looking at yourself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Distracted. Dee, dee, dee. Dee, dee, dee. Do you see a baby?
She's on top of the otter too. It's funny.
She's doing tough stuff. Tough girl stuff. Oh, we flipped over. You're so strong. Whoa.
Whenever I'm sad, I look at this video and it just puts a smile on my face every single time. I hope it does the same for you guys. So, the rest of the show, let's talk about it. The rest of the show today, you're going to get an ELA rubric breakdown for the whole ELA part of the project, okay? Not just the graphic organizer. Then Mr. Kemp stops by on What's Up with Mr. Beck. Whoop, whoop! And he is going to break down the graphic organizer so you completely understand what's expected of you. He gives you the Paluto example, so you're good to go. Do what he tells you to do, and you will be extremely successful. If you don't do that, if you don't watch the video, come on now. As Mr. Kemp will say, are you a $5 student or a $1 million student? I know I've got a whole bunch of $1 million students. Give that $1 million effort. You can do it. Okay, so then there's that. Then we're going to come back and they're going to end the show with the precept. the character of the day if you don't know who she is. And we'll kill it off, okay? So guys, pay attention. Rubrics next, then Mr. Kemp's video, precept, character of the day, okay? Get it. All right, let's talk about Part C ELA rubric. Here we go. We're breaking it down because last time we didn't really break down the rubric for ELA. I showed you the parts, but now we're really getting into the nuts and bolts. So part 1 is going to be ideas. I'm going to explain getting all the points to getting no points, okay? So you clearly understand what's going on here. So to get every single point, you're going to have an excellent description. You're going to have clear main idea and strong details. 3 points is good description, adequate details, focused on the main idea. 2 will get you some descriptive details and some focus on the main idea. And 1 point, little focus on described subject, lacks details. Organization, let's talk about it. Details are arranged in a clear order. You don't brush your teeth, play in the mud, take a shower, then go back and play in the mud, and then brush your teeth and drink orange juice and brush your teeth again. Come on, now let's get a good order, okay? Anyways, going on, you're going to have a strong beginning and a strong ending. Okay, then 3 points. Details are mostly arranged in order. This is a good beginning and ending. 2 points. Details are not well connected. Weak beginning and ending. 1 point. No organization to details and lack of beginning or ending. Okay, organization. Boom. Next one. Voice. You got strong personality in your characters. You got strong personality in your paper. It's awesome. Okay, there's clear connection between the writer and the subject. Okay, 3 points. Writer is involved. Some connections between the writer and the subject. 2 points. Writer is lacking involvement. Few feelings are shown. How do you feel about something? That's how I always think about voice. Okay, and then 1 point is no writer involvement. Point of view missing. Okay, that's how you're going to get all your points on voice. Going on to the next word choice. Word choice. To get all the points, you will need to have superior structure, an excellent flow. So when I'm reading it, it's really easy to read. Okay, then next one is some varied beginnings and then well constructed. 2, simple structures, little variety. 1, limited, vague, language is repeated over and over and over again. Okay, next one, sentence fluency. Superior structure, excellent flow. 3 points. Some varied beginnings, well constructed. 2 points. Simple structures, little variety. 1 point. Many errors, awkward and hard to read. Read it out loud, guys. It's the best way to get sentence fluency. Read it out loud. Read your punctuation. Make sure you're saying everything correctly. Conventions, okay, which are going to be your grammar, okay? Capitalization, punctuation. You got this. Excellent control, few or no errors. 3 points. No serious errors that affect understanding. 2, weak control, errors affect understanding. 1 point. Many errors that prevent understanding. So guys, this is where the spelling thing is going to be important, okay? So make sure that you're spelling words right, and if you're spelling them wrong, it's close enough to understand exactly what they are. This is not a Mr. Beck grades it, I don't care about spelling at all type thing, okay? So I want to make sure that you understand that your spelling is going to matter a little bit here. You're on a computer, you see a red squiggly line, fix it. Make sure it's the right word if you're using voice to text. Do the smart lookup. Make sure you're using your words right. Okay, then the last part, which is kind of, I think, a little tough here. You got your 6 bullets, right? So you got to make sure that you include everything. So here's your little checklist of bullets here. I have my opening sentence. I have written at least 1 page or more. I have used at least 6 adjectives. How many? 6 adjectives. Okay? I have used at least 5 examples of figurative language. How many? 5 examples. I have used at least 3 pieces of scientific factual information. Part B, anybody? Make sure you use it. And I have used at least 2 mathematical pieces of information to add text. Oh wait, we don't want to add text. That's just something. Anyways, okay. So make sure that you're gonna get all the points. The last 2 bullet points are easy. That's part A and part B. Just bring them into your writing. Okay. 6 traits. Focus. 6 bullet points. How do I get all the points? I have all 6 bullets and they are written really well. Then 3 points. I have all 6 bullets. 2 points. I have 3 to 5 bullets. 1 point. I have 1 to 2 bullets. Okay? Guess what a 0 is if you don't have any bullets or you didn't turn anything in. So make sure, you guys, you get every piece of this ELA rubric. It's not that difficult. You can totally do this. I can't wait to read your writing pieces. They are going to be awesome. Mr. Kemp, tell them about their graphic organizer.
Okay, so here we are, our graphic organizer for our planet project. And the driving question for our planet project writing piece is, what is life like on whatever the name of your planet is? And our teacher example, we're using Pluto as the example. So I would have Pluto typed in there. I don't, but I have the font changed to blue so that maybe we can understand that I'm talking about Pluto, because sometimes we associate the color blue with the planet Pluto. So our graphic organizer this time, and we've done graphic organizers throughout the year. Sometimes we've done Venn diagrams, sometimes we've used T-charts, and sometimes we've used this who, what, when, where, why, and how sheet. And this is just a little extended version of this. So what I'm going to tell you first is, before you do this, before you type in the information for your graphic organizer, right, on your assignments and teams, I strongly suggest that all of you write out these answers first. It's going to be much, much easier to come up with quality information if you write these things down first. If you don't write them down first and you just try typing them in, you're going to end up with a $5 paper. And if you remember, I've told you guys, if you want to be a $5 student, that means you don't put in very much effort, and you'll probably end up as an adult someday with $5 in your pockets all the time and not much else. But if you would like to be $1 million student, that means the quality of your work needs to extend beyond just what you think is good enough. You need to challenge yourself to do the best that you can. So in order to have a great graphic organizer, you're probably going to have to do some writing out of some of these things before you start typing them. I'm not telling you you absolutely have to, but if you're choosing to be a $5 student, then you can't be mad when you only have $5 in your pocket. And that is figurative language, boys and girls, because obviously I'm not really talking about $5. I'm talking about your grades. So if you value your grade on this project, you should be putting in $1 million effort, not a $5 effort. So I suggest that we write these things out before we end up typing them. So our first is who. Now you have to decide who you are going to be in this story. Now, I would prefer that it's you. I've told you during our creative writing piece, sure, you could make up a name if you don't want to use your own name, and that's fine. So if you do want to make up a name, that's fine. But I want you to pretend this is you, but you can have a different name. So in our directions, I said you need to think about this as if it's historical fiction, which means a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is historically and factually true, but there are some parts of the story that are just made up in order to make the story more colorful and fun. So if you want to make up a name, that's fine, but we're not making up anything crazy like you are somebody else who already exists. If you want to make up a name, that's one thing, but let's probably just keep it at that. So for who, I'm going back to 11-year-old me. And I'm saying I'm traveling to Pluto when I'm 11 years old, and I'm going to be alone in my story. So then I moved on to my what. And my what is, what were you sent to your planet for? What is your story going to talk about that you went there for? You can't just babble on about your planet. This isn't a research paper where you're just spewing out facts. This is a creative writing piece that is like historical nonfiction. We want to know some stuff about what is actually going on and what actually exists on your planet, but we also want this to be fun and creative. So for my what, I said I was sent to Pluto to help mankind try and find a new planet to colonize and make our new home. I must try and find ways for human beings to survive on Pluto. This includes ways to have food, as well as ways to build homes and structures on Pluto's cold, desolate surface. So Pluto is a very, very cold place, and it's very icy. So it's going to be a challenge for me in my story to talk about how I'm going to discover ways to have food or to build things on such a cold, icy planet. But that's the challenge of having fun within my writing. So that's my what, and that's kind of going to drive my whole story. That's what's going to make me think about the way I'm going to end my story, because my goal is to find out ways to have food or to build homes and structures. So my when I was 11 years old, it was 1992. Don't do the math. My where? Well, I'm on Pluto, and I have to tell where on Pluto I am, and this is where my creativeness might come into play. You're going to have to be a little creative. Nobody wants to read a paper where you just say, I am on Pluto. Well, I'm on Pluto at the base of a very large mountain. Pluto has very, very high mountains, and I just figured that would be a cool place for my story to take place at. I also said I am near a large frozen glacier that is heart-shaped. I think we might have got that information from our science assignment. So my why am I there? Why specifically did I get sent to this planet? There could be lots of different reasons why you were sent to your planet. Mine, what I chose was there was a radioactive war and Earth is slowly dying. Now guys, you don't have to copy my example. There are lots of things, maybe not lots, but there are at least a handful of things that I can think of right off the top of my head that might cause human beings to need to go to another planet, and not every single one of them has to do with radioactive war. I can think of quite a few things that don't have anything to do with radioactive war that would cause humans to maybe explore another planet for their future home. So please, let's not be copying any of my examples. For my how, well, how am I going to do my what? That's what your how is. How am I going to do my what? So your what is the juice of your story. What are you there for? What's your overall goals and missions that you're going to end up talking about? So your how is going to be, how are you going to do your what? Well, I am going to be working with NASA. And if you say you're going to be working with NASA, this is a little different. You're not really copying it. NASA is our space program, so it only makes sense that many of us would be working with NASA.
You could also say SpaceX.
So I said they will be in communication with me via satellite and helping me maneuver Pluto's surface. So your what may be very different from mine. So your what is going to end up determining your how. So keep that in mind. When you get to how pertains to how you are going to do your what. So then our next part is space adjectives. And space adjectives for your planet is going to be different for everybody. My adjectives for Pluto are not going to be the same as somebody's adjectives for Saturn. So you have to know what kind of terrain your planet is, what kind of weather, what it's like on that planet. So if your research is good, you should be able to come up with some pretty good space adjectives for each planet. So for Pluto, I said icy, frigid. Now I could have just said cold, but then I sat around and thought about it because I actually wrote these down. I didn't just type them in. And I thought frigid sounds better than cold. Just like with humongous. Well, I could have said large or big, but humongous is a much more colorful adjective than large or big. Same with treacherous. I had dangerous at first. But because I wrote it down before I typed it out, I thought to myself, well, treacherous is a better word than dangerous. Blue is a color that is often used when we talk about Pluto, so I would like to have that as one of my adjectives. I'm probably going to use the word blue to describe something. And Pluto is very small, so I picked the word microscopic. I could have just said small, but microscopic is a much more interesting word than just small. So then we move on to our figurative language. Now, guys, right on your rubric, it tells you how many pieces of figurative language you should be using. So you need to make sure that you are using all of the required amounts of figurative language that it says in the rubric. Right here is an example of simile for Pluto. Pluto, I could say the skies were as blue as an ocean wave. This is a simile because I'm comparing the skies to an ocean wave using like or as. Similes use the word like or as when they compare two unlike things. My metaphor might be something like, Pluto is a needle in the haystack in our universe. I didn't use like or as, so that is a metaphor because I am comparing Pluto to a needle in a haystack. And that is because Pluto is very small. So when we say something is a needle in a haystack, it means it's very small and probably very hard to find. My next one was for hyperbole, and a hyperbole is just an extreme example. The mountaintops reached one of Pluto's 5 moons. Now, guys, Pluto has extremely high mountains, but can you imagine how high a mountain would have to be in order to reach one of Pluto's 5 moons? That's good figurative language because that might give the reader a visual of maybe how large these mountaintops really are. So a hyperbole, again, is an extreme exaggeration. Personification. My example is my spacecraft danced across the ice as we landed. Well, personification is when you give human characteristics to something that is not human. So I said my spacecraft danced across the ice as we landed. My spacecraft and danced is where personification comes in because I'm giving spacecraft human qualities when I say that it danced. And my last example for figurative language is idiom. And idioms are new. And in 5th grade, you guys are only 10, 11, 12 years old. Idioms are something that you kind of know because you've been in our society for so long that you hear them all the time. So many of you probably aren't familiar with idioms, and you might have to end up asking your parents maybe what a good idiom is. If you're working with your parents on coming up with ideas for this paper, that's not cheating. Working with your parents is a much better way than just not putting any effort into it or saying, oh, I don't know any idioms. I would much rather you talk to your parents about it, and that's how you're going to learn some idioms. So my idiom for Pluto was, I was so hungry I could have eaten a horse. So that is a very popular idiom that we have. And an idiom is just a saying that is not meant to be taken literally. I was so hungry I could have eaten a horse. Well, this sounds like hyperbole, but it is also idiom. So very, very often hyperboles and idioms can sort of look and sound like the same thing. So if you need help, don't feel like asking your parents is cheating, because it's not. Doing something like not putting in any effort and being a $5 student, that would be much worse. Then we got our last 2 things. Fun science facts that I could use in my paper. Well, for Pluto has 5 moons. I thought that was pretty cool.
And you better make sure that you name at least one of them in this paper. If you're talking about the moons, you better name them. Proper nouns. Let's go.
Pluto has blue skies, but it's
Why does it have blue skies?
really, really cold and icy, so it's a different sort of blue skies, and I thought that was cool because that's going to give me ways to describe things and talk about things that hopefully will be able to give my readers some visuals. And also, Pluto is extremely cold. That's a science fact that's going to be very important to use in my story, because my story is about me trying to colonize Pluto. And it being extremely cold is probably going to be a really difficult challenge for anybody who's trying to colonize Pluto. And lastly, fun facts that I could use, fun math facts that I could use. Well, a day on Pluto is 153.3 hours long. That would mean we would need like 100-hour-long school days if we were on Pluto. So that also means I'm aging slowly, thank goodness. So if you're on Pluto and a day is 153 hours long, that's going to be a much different experience than here on Earth. And that might be something really, really fun to talk about. If you are on a planet whose days are really, really short, you're going to age quicker. And again, that's going to be something fun to talk about. The diameter of Pluto is 1,476.8 miles long. Guys, that's not very long for a planet. That's actually relatively small. So I said it's relatively easy to travel across because it's so small. So that's a piece of math that could make my story interesting. Maybe if I'm talking about traveling from one side of the planet to the other, it's something that's fun that I could actually talk about my story, because how many planets can you say that about, that you could travel from one side to the other? Or maybe your planet is just the opposite. So there we have it, our graphic organizer for what is life like on your planet. And our graphic organizer is a who, what, when, where, why, and how. But then I also added things like space adjectives, space figurative language, our fun science facts, and our fun math facts. Guys, again, you need to be writing this out before you go and type this in. I'm going to be able to tell very easily who actually did some writing and some thinking before they typed in some answers. And you all have your rubrics. So your rubrics are going to be exactly how you get graded. And if you put in a $5 effort, you are deciding that you are going to end up with $5 in your pocket at the end of this. And if you're okay with that, then I can't be anything other than okay with that too. Because it's your choice to put in the amount of effort that you hold yourself accountable to. So I hope that we're all $1 million students, or at least $1 million effort. I can live with $1 million effort. I can't live with $5 effort, and you shouldn't either. So let's put in some quality effort into our graphic organizer, and that will end up making your paper a whole lot better. And like I said, I'm going to be able to tell who put in some real effort into these. So that's your assignment for, this will be due on, I believe, Wednesday, which is June 3rd. So you guys have all the due dates. I was just doing some thinking in my head, trying to pull up a mental calendar, so that's why I was stuttering. So this is due on Wednesday, June 3rd. After your graphic organizer, we will move on to your rough drafts. So can't wait to see all these good graphic organizers. Good luck, and make sure you keep me interested.
All right, so today's precept. I'm not going to do a little talky talk guy. I'm going to go right into it on Twitter here, because that's where I put them up every single day. Today's precept is, you don't have time to be timid. You must be bold and daring. And that is from Lumiere in The Beauty and the Beast. Mr. Beck, it's been 2 weeks since you gave us Mr. Beck, I'm so bored, what can I do challenge. So I got it for you. Over the week, last week, I watched Back to the Future. It's on Netflix, so I'm getting off the Disney Plus bandwagon for a second, going on to the Netflix, bust it up, dust them off, blow the... Okay? Your hashtag Mr. Beck, I'm so bored, I need something to watch challenge is going to be Back to the Future Part 1. Guys, the first time I watched it as an adult, absolutely amazing video. There's not one line in that movie that's wasted. If they say something in the beginning, they're going to come back to it. Brace yourself. So much foreshadowing. It's epic. It's awesome. Great 80s movie. Okay? I think it was the 80s. But yeah, so there's your challenge there. Okay, so we did the precept. That brings us to character of the day. It is Ahsoka Tano. And I'm wearing her shirt today. My wife got me this shirt. I didn't even know it was coming. I was so excited. Okay, Ahsoka Tano. She's no Jedi anymore. Okay? That's today's show. I hope you have a great weekend. Make sure you finish Part B Science. Start your graphic organizer. It's due the 3rd. As always, hashtag choose kind. Hashtag stay awesome. Mr. Beck